Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host. Delighted to have you with us on this beautiful yet rainy Monday morning. It's another week, and the sun will come out again tomorrow. We're very pleased to have in studio, live and in living color, Kirby Butler and Pastor Shannon, Lovelady of Southern Hills Christian Church. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
He's got the voice.
He does.
He's got the voice. So we're good. We're good. We invite you to join us, 678-601-TALK, 678-601-8255, or you can follow us on News Talk 1330 Facebook Live. Share your comments there, and we'll try to get to them if I can figure everything out. Well, if anybody's ever been on the west side at the end of the bypass, Maple Street, maybe I think it's Maple Street Commons, there is this massive construction project, like nothing you see anywhere else in Carroll County, going up to the heavens. How about that? Kirby, tell us a little something about what is City Station and describe the layout and just kind of give us a quick overview.
Sure. So City Station is really the culmination of the vision that Shannon laid out for our church, probably going on about 5 years ago now. So what you see is a community center with student housing on top, to put it as simply as possible. So the first floor is going to have a gymnasium where our church will have our where we'll meet on Sunday mornings, but that's just a fraction of what it'll be used for. Really the purpose of the whole building, we just want the facility to be in use 7 days a week by all members of our community. So every aspect of the building was designed with multiple purposes in mind. The other part of the first floor is a preschool. We've got to have space for our little people on Sunday mornings, so we decided to put that space into use during the week with an extended day Christian preschool. The second floor is going to have great meeting space that can be in use by the community during the week, where our older students will meet on Sunday mornings, and then small fraction of that is where the church staff is actually going to be. A lot of people don't realize our church is actually relocating to City Station. So we are leaving our beloved chicken farm on 113 and moving in town, right down the road from the college, which we're so excited about. And then the top two floors will be home to 60 college students. It's Covenant student housing. Really what sets this project apart is the Covenant student housing. Depending on where you get your facts, at least 70% of Christian students walk away from their faith during their college years. So our goal is to hopefully reverse that trend and really create a safe, nurturing environment for those college kids during their college years.
But I will be clear, the community is also welcome there. I think you have a gym, the meeting rooms, the counseling.
Absolutely.
Can you emphasize that?
Sure. It's very much a building built for the community. I'm sure Shannon will touch on this, but we feel like, as good stewards of God's resources, we need to have a facility that is in use every day of the week. So what we've done is try to create a facility that will appeal to all walks and ages and all members of our community. So there's definitely great meeting space. We hope companies will host corporate events, lunches. We will have a restaurant also on the first floor that'll provide catering opportunities there. So we hope if you've got a need for facility space, City Station will be able to meet it.
Shannon, this is somewhat outside the norm of churches, at least around here, to embrace a project like this. Tell us a little more in detail what the vision is for this and what theology undergirds it.
I guess the easiest way to put it is we feel like, for instance, if you go to Southern Hills right now, our current property, on a Monday morning, staff is going to be there. And we just feel like a lot of money gets put into facilities that get used a couple days a week. And again, that's great. And traditionally that's been the vision of the church, and it's what we've done for years. But as we're growing and wanting to more better minister in our community and be a community centered church, we want to use our facilities 7 days a week. We just feel like, as Kirby was saying a minute ago, very well, by the way.
Thank you.
She was
before.
She's good. She's good. As she was saying a minute ago, really we want to be good stewards of the resources that God has given us. So our desire is, she touched on the on like at the university, for instance. I think the church a lot of times does a really good job unfortunately, the Church Universal does a good job of pointing out what's wrong in our society and not doing a whole lot to fix it. And that's not all churches, obviously, but I think as a whole, that's traditionally what we're known for, is the church. And so our desire is to go, okay, instead of griping about what's wrong with our society, why don't we go back to what we were originally called to do and fix what's broken? And you look at the universities, all the major universities were started by the church hundreds of years ago. Then you look at exactly. You look at we've got a lot of opinions about fostering and DFACs and orphanages and just the crisis there in the home. And again, the church was the one that was called, actually the church built the first orphanage. And somewhere along the way, we've abandoned all these things and said, here, government, here, everybody else, take this over. This is your responsibility. And so we feel like our desire is to say, okay, instead of handing these things off to other people and saying, this is your responsibility, why don't we step up to the plate and do what we believe Jesus called us to do a couple thousand years ago. So
we in local news reporting, we tend to fixate or predominate at least on government activity and then maybe business through the chamber.
Right.
But we don't really report very much on what churches are doing.
Right.
I know they're active. So, this will be a more visible and tangible kind of integration into the community.
Yeah, that's our desire. Is we want to be a place that's known that if there's a problem, if there's an issue, that these folks over here at City Station can help us with that, and in tandem with local businesses, in tandem with the government. I've got very good friends in local government that it's not a knock on what anybody does. I believe we just all need to come together, and other churches as well come together to all pull our weight and do our part.
Okay, we've got a lot more we want to dive into about City Station with Kirby Butler and Pastor Shannon Lovelady, but first, this word from Tanner Health System.
Who holds the key to your heart? Your spouse? Your children? Or is it your grandkids? When it comes to keeping your heart beating strong, you'll find Tanner Heart Care holds the key. With preventive services to keep you healthy, and the region's largest network of primary care providers experienced in quickly catching cardiovascular problems, your heart is in exceptional hands at Tanner. That's because we're advancing health with state-of-the-art diagnostic care to ensure your heart is working properly. And should a problem occur, from heart attacks to irregular heartbeats, Tanner offers innovative care, so your heart can be there for the ones who hold it, strong and safe. Tanner Health System, advancing heart health with medicine beyond measure. To find a heart specialist, call 770-214-CARE or learn more at tannerheartcare.org.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host. Delighted to have you with us. We've got a very good program. Well, all our programs are good, but this one's particularly good. Pastor Shannon Lovelady, Southern Hills Church, Kirby Butler, City Station. And that's our topic this morning. Both of y'all in your opening remarks talked about the 2 floors upstairs with the university students. Kirby mentioned about 60% of the students kind of walk away from their faith in the university environment. Tell us, this is a very important part of this vision, obviously, to tell us how that's structured. From what I understand, you have like 3 students per room and then a student that's like a discipleship person?
That's correct. We've got about 60 beds up there, and so it's the campus quad, very much like many other apartments in town, so that there's shared living space, then everybody has their own room and own bathroom. The main difference with us is we call it covenant housing, and so to live in our housing, you have to covenant to live a Christian lifestyle, and we believe a huge part of that at Southern Hills, our mission, and I think it's the mission of most churches, I would hope, is making disciples who make disciples, and so we believe very much in the discipleship process, and so we've got an older, hopefully more mature student in their faith that their primary job will be to disciple the other 3 students that live in the apartment with them.
Okay. That is such. I want to stay on that for just a second because you raise a kid, go through the hard teenage years, and then bye, see you to college, and then they're exposed to all these influences, all this peer pressure, and they're doing things that's contrary to their faith.
Right.
And so this is an environment where they can feel, I guess, safer, more secure, still build relationships.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Yeah. Our desire really is to see their walk with Christ not only maintain but thrive.
Yeah.
We really want them to not just be in a safe environment. We want them to be in a thriving environment where they can really start to figure this thing called life out their first time on their own, without making those mistakes that college students are so prone to do.
Yeah, the Granick made.
I'm not going to name any names.
Yeah, well, that's a different show.
We really see it as kind of a launching pad for the mission field, really. I mean, we've got our university's growing. Dr. Marrero is doing an incredible job. And obviously, so that's bringing the mission field to us here in Carrollton, but we also see it as an opportunity to, every year, we're literally producing more disciples that then send out, not only to do great community work here in our town, but to send out all over the world. So.
Well, let's highlight a few of the features that you mentioned, Kirby, in your opening thing. We're very close to the Greenbelt.
Right, absolutely.
That's a pretty nifty thing.
Well, that was a must-have for us. We sat down with our original team that it consisted of church members and community members and sort of made our wish list of must-haves and would like to haves, and location was top of the list. Obviously, we knew we had to be close to the university, and being close to the Greenbelt was something we had to do. So while we did put together 8.5 acres out there in a great location, it is by far from the ideal piece of land that we would like to build on, but we are going to be able to make it work. Like you said, that location is just so important. And Dr. Marrero, as Shannon mentioned, has been a huge advocate of our project, and he's committed bus service to City Station. So that's just going to be one more tie that strengthens City Station with the college.
But it's not college or university.
No,
it's not university
right.
property.
Correct.
So do you get university security protection, or do you have your own?
No, we actually have a satellite police precinct there that and talking with the city that we've communicated that'll be right there in the lobby, so that they can come in and out doing their paperwork there during the week. We can provide some snacks and drinks and whatnot for them. So
No kidding.
Yeah.
We are also going to be the first off-campus student housing affiliate member with the University of West Georgia. This is a huge push that they've had in town, so we're excited to get to be one of those first. So what that means basically is we'll just share information and resources. If there's any issue on campus, we'll know about it, and vice versa.
In your previous remarks, I think both of y'all have stated you expect to have a waiting list for this. These 60 students, space should fill up pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, we partner already with Campus Outreach and Christian Campus Fellowship on the university, both great ministries there, and some of their leadership there is already helping us to get the word out with their students, specifically as far as those lead students that we were talking about. And I got to speak with one of those groups a couple of weeks ago, and we've already got about 20 folks on an email list there that are interested, and so it's very quickly the word's getting out. We actually had a tour last night, and several college students showed up interested in living there. So
because you have students, if not paid personnel, from those organizations that could really help integrate with that discipleship.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're actually that's part of what we're doing right now with a couple of their leaders, and it's actually working through what that training is going to look like in that discipleship.
Well, you mentioned you also got a gym. Tell us that, and that's open to the public.
Correct.
Tell
Yes.
us about that.
So we will be able to hold about 700 people on Sunday mornings in chairs, but obviously those chairs will be stored during the week for one full-size regulation basketball court or two half court, short court, basketball court. So what we're going to do there is obviously so much more than just basketball. Our after-school program will meet in the gym. We hope it'll be open during the day. Members of the business community want to come and have a pickup game of basketball. Hopefully that'll happen. But the opportunities really are endless as far as what we can use the space for.
And you'll have a physical fitness gym also?
Correct. So that'll be on the second floor, and we're thrilled. Eddie Duffy is going to be the director of that for us.
We're really excited about that.
Tell us a little something about Eddie, because he's like a hero.
Oh yeah.
For these radio.
What a lot of people don't know about Eddie is that he actually helped start Southern Hills 20 years ago. He was one of the 3 original families, and then when Southern Hills launched to the community, they actually met there in Sportsplex. And so it's just a really neat thing for me that Eddie and I have actually talked a whole lot, and actually, shocker, shed some tears over it as well. That it's kind of come full circle, and that he's going to get to kind of finish up ministry doing it this way. So we're excited about that.
Do you have, what are your thoughts about having a Sunday worship service in a facility that is a gym during the week? Does that bother you? Does that enhance or detract from the worship service?
It fires me up, honestly. I was actually talking with somebody last night as we were walking through and doing our tour that we're building a obviously very expensive facility that is less than ideal in pretty much every aspect. And I think what excites me about that is literally everything we're doing is multi-purpose. And so there are things that selfishly we could say, I wish I had this, or if this was better or that was better. But the reality is we feel like in order for us to really minister to the community, we've got to make some sacrifices. And so now I get excited about the gym. It'll be hopefully the nicest looking gym in town, and at the same time, I think on Sunday mornings, I don't think you'll be able to really know you're in a gym.
I'm a resident of Boughton, so I'm always kind of pleased to see something on the west side. Why did y'all choose this location?
Again, the main thing was proximity to the college, and obviously when the economy tanked years back, and that whole area is just kind of sat there. We felt like that, and along with the city, felt like it would be a great way for us to kind of revitalize that area. And then the main thing was the proximity to college, and then the green belt. It was just really important to us that it be accessible to the entire community, no matter whether you have a vehicle or not, that you could get to us.
Okay, well, we're going to take another break. We're pleased to have in the studio Pastor Shannon Lovelady and Kirby Butler talking about City Station, and we'll be back with more after this from Tanner Health System.
Who holds the key to your heart? Your spouse? Your children? Or is it your grandkids? When it comes to keeping your heart beating strong, you'll find Tanner Heart Care holds the key. With preventive services to keep you healthy, and the region's largest network of primary care providers experienced in quickly catching cardiovascular problems, your heart is in exceptional hands at Tanner. That's because we're advancing health with state-of-the-art diagnostic care to ensure your heart is working properly. And should a problem occur, from heart attacks to irregular heartbeats, Tanner offers innovative care, so your heart can be there for the ones who hold it, strong and safe. Tanner Health System, advancing heart health with medicine beyond measure. To find a heart specialist, call 770-214-CARE or learn more at tannerheartcare.org.
Hello, welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Rodgers, your host on this beautiful yet rainy Monday morning. We've got Pastor Shannon Lovelady, Southern Hills Christian Church, and Kirby Butler here talking about City Station. There's so much about this, and it's hard to whittle it down to just a few minutes. But there are not many, but there are other church projects like this around the country. Are you familiar with any of those, and are you working with any of those?
Yes, that's actually one of the things that's excited us the most is, and why we feel like this has been so viable. There's a church called Faith Church up in Indiana, actually in West Lafayette, Indiana, where Purdue University it is. And we actually went up there for some other training and discipleship, and was introduced to a very similar project that they're doing, specifically in the housing part. So they've just been a really key partner with us in this process that I know that excites Kirby.
Yeah, for me, I vividly remember the Sunday that Shannon shared the strategic vision of the church for us, and I remember thinking, this is fantastic, but how in the world is a church on a chicken farm in Carrollton, Georgia, going to put all these pieces together? And then I learned about Faith West, and learning about a model that already existed, and not only was existing, but was successful and thriving. That's when this really became viable for me. They very much have been a huge supporter of ours, very much a partner. We have access to literally everything. So they have walked us through best practices, what they wish they've done different, differently, real life budgets. Just cannot say enough great things about the help they've given us.
I would say on the backside then there's the Solomon Foundation.
Absolutely.
Once we got the project going, who's been just a key supporter of ours, and then for financially, but then for me specifically just as a pastor, just been just a great lifeline for me to be able to reach out to.
Perfect segue into my next question. Y'all are a church of, what, 1,200 members?
We run about 1,200 on Sunday mornings.
So this project is a $15 million. That seems like a heavy price tag for a 1,200 member church.
Definitely.
Or any church for that matter.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Tell us a little bit more about Solomon, how this debt is going to be liquidated. What's your vision for that?
Right. So it truly is a God thing how Solomon Foundation was brought into this project through a relationship Shannon has from years back. They are a church extension fund, which is very different from a traditional lender. I'm a commercial lender by day, and Shannon likes to give me grief that I covet the abilities that the Solomon Foundation has as a member of the church extension fund. So they're
what
just
in the world is a church extension
the church
fund?
extension fund was created by the government right after the Great Depression, and the easiest way to put it is it's basically a credit union that lends only to churches.
I have never heard of
So
that.
yeah, it's fascinating. So what they do, well, for me, I'm a nerd. I think it's
Yeah, well, you're a
fascinating.
nerd.
I'm just
Funny
going to
nerd.
sit here a minute and let her talk now.
So basically what they do is they take deposits from churches. They pay a very competitive, very good interest rate on those deposits. Then they turn around and they make loans to churches. So just to give you a point of reference, they are paying on average in the 4% range on investments, and then their loans are in the 6% range.
Who found these people? Did you find them? Or?
Shannon actually was friends with a guy who had gone to work with Solomon Foundation. He called Shannon out of the blue and said, "You want to go to lunch? Just touching base. Let me know what you've been up to." And Shannon started talking about City Station, and literally his eyes almost popped out of his head and said, you've got to meet somebody, But one thing that I will say, we had a meeting probably the week after that lunch with the CEO of the Solomon Foundation. Very legitimate business. He's grown that fund to over $350 million in 5 years. Career, literally just an industry veteran. This is what he's done for 40 years. But anyway, we had a meeting with him just to learn more about the Solomon Foundation, what they could do, see if it could be a fit for us. And in hindsight, Shannon and I joke now, we thought we were interviewing them, but they very much were interviewing us. Their underwriting process is very loose from a financial institution standpoint. It's very much a gut decision, and Doug Crozier, the CEO, really put his faith in Shannon and the vision he's got for our church.
Are they based in New York?
Colorado.
Really? Mm-hmm. Huh, interesting. Shannon, something like this, no one really knows where it will lead, where it will end up. How do you have any sense of what this could be or what the future might be in the realm of the miraculous?
I honestly think and believe that this is just kind of the starting point. I know that a $15 million project like City Station feels like the end, but I really believe it's going to be the starting point. That's part of what excites me about this is the potential future ministry that is going to take place here. As a matter of fact, in meeting with different city officials, one of the questions that was asked to me is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And my answer was, you tell me. What does the city, what does the community need from Southern Hills Christian Church 5 years from now? That's our desire, that's our goal, which is actually part of the long-term vision. I'll let
One thing I
Kirby
did
share
want to touch on, going back to the student housing, and then again you asked about the debt reduction. So obviously we've got a very generous church membership of about 1,200, but a really neat piece about this project is the student housing piece. So it will generate about $400,000 a year that can be used towards debt reduction. So obviously while we have a note on the building, that's what the student housing income will be used for. But then once the note is paid off, we estimate about $25,000 a month that we'll be able to put back into the community through a fund that we're going to create. So like Shannon says, this is just the beginning. Once the note is paid on the building, there's no debt anymore. Those funds are going to continue. As Shannon says, those funds will continue to come in until Jesus comes back. Sure. So what we plan to do is create a fund that will basically pull those funds to then push back into the community, whatever that looks like. Those are needs that we don't know of yet. But we're excited that we basically are creating a financial way to give back forever.
So it's possible this could become a model for every city that has a state university that's a secular university.
Yeah, I was actually just getting ready to say that. So then take that vision out a step further, kind of outside of our Jerusalem into all the world. It would be to, I have a huge desire to down the road be able to plant other churches in other towns that have universities that have a need for housing, and honestly even be able to help kickstart those financially, potentially down the road.
Because I hear in my own life, I think a lot of people have, where parents are distraught when they send their kid off to a secular university and they just lose them, if you will,
right.
and they're gone, and all that training and everything prior just seems to be for naught. So,
right.
I think there's a real place for this kind of thing.
We believe so.
Across the country. So that's fascinating. Obviously, in something like this, where you're breaking the mold and you're stepping out, you must have encountered some criticism along the way.
A little bit. I mean, surprisingly, not a lot. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just people understanding what the vision is, and then I believe once people go, oh, okay, I didn't because it is. In my mind, this has been something that's been floating around in my head for years, and so for me, it's just like, how do you not see it? It makes total sense. But then I have to remember that this is so out of the box that I believe most people, once they understand what this is really about, what we're trying to do, that this is about the community, this is about the kingdom, that's our desire, then for the most part, I think everybody's on board.
I would just add our largest opposition has been misinformation.
Yeah.
We joke that we should have made a list of all the rumors we've heard, but once we've got the opportunity to, set the record straight with what we're actually building, who can actually live there, who it's actually for, we really have gained a lot of support through that.
Is there other property there that would allow for expansion beyond what y'all are doing now?
Well, there's potential, a little bit, not a ton. As Kirby was saying earlier, it's the expansion is less than ideal, but again, we'll worry about that when the time comes. So.
All right. Well, tell us. So we're going to run out of time. Kirby, tell us what the timeline is, because I drive past it, a good bit. And it seems like construction has picked up its pace.
Right, yeah, they are on a very quick time frame. So this is a 12-month project, and we estimate that completion will be late May, early June. We lost about 30 days due to the rain. We had 30 inches in 30 days at the job site, which is just unbelievable. But we are not too far off schedule, even with all that in considering.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
That's what we call live radio.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're very close to being on schedule. The crucial part of that schedule is obviously the student housing piece. So our leases will begin August 1st, and those students obviously have got to be able to move in right then. So we're hoping, obviously, July, the church is relocating and getting all the kinks worked out for those students.
Okay, well, I think we're down to a minute. Any final words?
Yes, final word. Of course, there's got to be a sales pitch, right?
Okay, go.
Yes, so what we have done, I mentioned the fund that we're going to create, so we can pour resources back into the community on a monthly basis. So that fund cannot be created until the note on the building is gone. So we have created City Station Foundation, and we are actively seeking 3-year commitments at 3 different levels. Keystone is a $25,000 commitment, Cornerstone is a $50,000 commitment, and Capstone is a $100,000 commitment. And I'm thrilled to say we've had tremendous support from the community already. Steve Adams is one of our original Capstone supporters. Another business in town has already committed $100,000 a year. Theirs is for 5 years instead of 3. But the neatest part about that is that the decision-making board of that company, none of those members go to our church. So they really see the benefit that this building is going to have for our community.
And what's your website?
Citystation.org. they can get all the information for there. We'll actually have our housing website coming up soon. There's a link to that on there for any students that are interested. The registration will start on that here quickly. So.
Our gratitude to Pastor Shannon Lovelady of Southern Hills Christian Church and certainly Kirby Butler for coming in and being with us on the Community Voice this morning. WLBB Carrollton.
Georgia State News and Sports. And the